Live. Welcome back to Kenton and Habiba. Happy Friday. So we're on here a little bit, I don't know, later than normal. Whatever normal is. It's about 6, right?
Yeah, it's going on about 6, a little after 6. So yeah, we're a little later than usual. Sun going down and everything earlier.
Right. So here in North Carolina, it's really dreary. It looks very like blah. It's been raining on and off. And so we thought we would come on and just do something fun and entertaining and talk to y'all like we normally do. And as you can see, we have someone new in the picture. Say hello to our
Hi, how you doing?
little Halloween witch. So, yeah, I know a lot of you may not be into Halloween. Some of you are, some of you are not. And we'll talk about that because we do it all in fun. It's not anything that serious. And to get the mood, I got a candle. I've got some matches. This is the fall day candle. You won't be able to see it, right? You won't be able to see it, but I'm going to light it anyway. So, Kenton, who's on?
I don't know. They disappeared.
So, yeah, I'm just going to set the mood with this nice little candle here. And, yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. Isn't that cute? It smells kind of nice.
What is it? It just says fall day.
It just says fall day. And what you don't see here, besides this giant candle, I'm going to move this little witch off, is that we have this ginormous pumpkin that you might have seen in the last video. Kenton got it for me. And I want to know what you guys would do with it. Because obviously right now it's just 2 of us. Would you make pumpkin soup? Would you make pumpkin pie? What would you make with it? What would you make with it? I need your comments. Leave them below. And whatever's most popular, that's what we're going to try to make in the next few days. So I also have this. And I didn't buy this the last time we went shopping. We've had this for years. We've had this for years. And it's really pretty. Look at that. So again, I know not everyone is into Halloween, but I just miss decorating. And since we didn't do that, I brought this out. So Kenton, what was your favorite Halloween memories? And I'll move this out the way so that it's not bothering you. What were your favorite Halloween memories?
Oh, it was just Halloween with the kids, just take them out and, trick or treat. And, when we were in upstate New York, with the fall and the leaves changing and everything. And we would take them to, the little hay rides and stuff. And there was a little park and we would take them up there and they were like to get dressed up and,
Right.
So that was, that kind of stuff like that, trick or treating and, wearing costumes. And
What was your favorite costume on yourself?
on myself,
Yeah.
favorite costume?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't really have a favorite costume. I just,
Well,
it just
favorite
depends.
costume maybe on the kids that we've bought, because we used to go all out. We used to go really all out for the kids
Yeah.
and ourselves. I know I used to do a lot, but I
Well,
got
yeah,
that from my mom
you were
too.
dressed up as a witch and stuff like that. Or was that just regularly?
He
Yeah?
thinks he's funny. He thinks it's funny.
Yeah. So no, I mean, just playing around with the kids and stuff. That's just my favorite. It was more fun, having fun with the kids and watching them, enjoy it and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Well, I got him some cashews. That's not exactly Halloween, but that's instead of like the candies. Apparently, he finished the whole thing of candies that he
it
had
wasn't a
the other
whole
day.
thing. It was like 2 or 3 pieces from work.
We got some candy corn. You guys like candy corn? Candy corn is very American, I think. I didn't grow up with candy corn, but not a lot of people like candy corn.
I don't. It's nasty.
I don't mind it. It has this like creamy, kind of waxy taste to it.
Yeah, it's
Right. Now, to anyone who doesn't know the history of Halloween, why do so many people find it like offensive? especially like some of the religious groups that feel like, oh, you shouldn't celebrate Halloween. It's witchcraft and it's this and it's that. What's
Well,
the actual
well, that's well,
historical
that's
thing?
that's 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 part of the reason. Is just that in many aspects, depending on how Halloween is celebrated, is that if there's a focus on the occult or the, like witches and basically like devil worship and stuff like that, the very negative aspects of it. That's really where a lot of that pushback is for, for different faiths and stuff like that. But originally, Halloween actually was a traditional end of harvest
Okay.
celebration, is to mark that actually start of the end of one season of the fall harvest and going into winter as the change of the season, also the shortening of the day. So
It
and
definitely feels that like that
yeah,
right now. I wish you guys could see
right.
outside.
So in Ireland and like in Celtic tradition, as well as in ancient France and Europe, it was called Samhain. That was the name of the holiday or the celebration, and they would do bonfires. They would store up, and the harvest and stuff for the long winter.
Okay.
And then also the concept also was that as you change from the bounty of the fall and the summer changing, it goes into the cold winter. It's sort of like also in a way mimics life as you go through your youth of spring, your middle age of the summer,
Right.
and then as you go into your older age into the fall and into the winter. So at that time, it was also believed that was a time when you could talk to your ancestors, your spirits and stuff. And so
Now,
anyway, so then when the Catholic Church spread into pagan areas and stuff like that, they created basically holidays, in order to incorporate the more pagan holidays. So on November 1st, they created that's All Saints Day. And so, so in Middle English, that's called All Hallow Mess.
really?
And so basically that means, All Saints Day. So the day before, which is the 31st, that's All Hallow Mess Eve, Halloween Eve.
Oh, I didn't
See,
know that.
yeah, and so the day before All Saints Day, which in Catholic tradition they still have All Saints Day, and so they basically then incorporated that holiday into the pagan festival, which you find out a lot of times. A lot of celebrations are like that. Like a lot of people don't know, Easter is also what is also a pagan holiday that has then been incorporated into traditional Christian, and so so then one of the traditions is then on All Saints Day. One of the things was that the poor would go to like rich families, and they ask for hollow
I'll bring you a
cakes.
little closer.
They asked for hollow cakes,
Oh,
and they would
okay.
go door to door, and then in exchange for the hollow cakes.
Oh, I don't have to see her. It's fine.
Okay, in exchange for the hollow cakes, they would basically ask to pray for the spirits of the rich peoples
Right.
who've passed away. So, and that kind of led to the trick or treating that we see now, where we go in and we raid people's homes for candy and stuff like that. And of course, then the Protestants came in and then took all the fun away. So that's
Oh, I
part of
didn't
the
know
Protestant
that.
Reformation. They came in and they basically, it was like, we ain't doing anything. We'll put a kibosh on this, and and
Right.
then,
But
and then
nowadays, you would think with all, of course, with all the commercialism associated with it, it's morphed into something completely different where, I mean, when I came to the US, Halloween to me had no real religious significance. It just seemed all fun and games.
But
And
there,
to me, it kind of
well,
still is.
there isn't really a religious significance to
Right.
Halloween. The significance is the day after, which is All Saints Day, which is, again, that's a Catholic tradition. Protestants don't do All Saints Day. So that's the thing. So that's why there isn't a religious connotation. It's just that it was a pagan tradition or festival. It got folded in, and so it gets adopted because it all ties into the harvest. So basically, as you see, as you go into long winters and stuff, this is where you start storing your root vegetables and also you're going to get vitamin D deficiencies. You're going to get all those things. So it's one of those things where you store up your food stores and you prepare to basically go through the winter. So that's
So
really
it
what it
doesn't
is.
offend you, though. I mean, obviously, it never offended you, even though you knew the religious background or the historical significance never offended you, or you never felt like you were doing anything wrong by us celebrating
I don't.
Halloween.
Yeah,
And,
but see, again, I have a diverse, perspective because I've been, fortunate to be involved in different, traditions. So like
right,
Seventh Day Adventists don't do it at all because
right.
again,
And I can respect
and I
that.
respect it. See, that's the thing is I respect the different perspectives on it and so forth. And so if you're not comfortable with it, just like in the workplace, if it's more of a neutral, you want to be, as
Right.
inclusive as possible.
My little witch here.
Yeah, so you make it more of a fun thing,
Yeah.
versus anything that's heavy on the negative side,
Right,
or on the
right,
occult side,
right, right.
But for fundamentalists, anything that even comes close to it is still taboo. So you respect that and stuff like that.
Right,
And,
right.
and some services they do trunk or treat and stuff like
Right,
that.
which to me is not as fun as the old fashioned going from door to door, getting
Yeah.
candy and dressed up with your kids. That whole trunk or treat thing, which is very much mostly in the South, I think was done out of safety. So I
It's
kind of
safety, it's like,
understand.
yeah, exactly, it's
Right,
safety. I mean, nowadays going door to door is not, sometimes depending on the neighborhood, but some places can be a little sketchy.
right,
And again, we know like when we took the kids, there were certain neighborhoods that we knew or said, hey,
right,
these
right.
are good places to go because they're safe
You
and
always hear
stuff.
the black people, well, I shouldn't say black
Yeah.
people, but you always hear people saying, go to the rich neighborhood. You don't want to go to the, bad neighborhood. You got to go to the
Well,
rich neighborhoods or know the neighborhoods to go to.
well, yeah, you want to be safe. I mean, I mean, you're
No,
not gonna
because they
go.
got the good candy.
I don't know, candies.
Candy,
Good
all
candy.
candy is bad,
Yeah,
generally.
but it's just about being safe and stuff and
Right.
trying to be fun. But now with COVID and everything,
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
know if any of you guys doing any of that, if you have small kids or if you have grandchildren, anybody doing trick or treat or doing any Halloween
yeah,
parties. But what I don't get too is like I've heard people say, I'm not into Halloween, but yet they'll go to a costume party that was held on Halloween. Like, what's the difference? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, what is the difference just because it's called a costume
the
party
diff-
on Halloween?
the
Hello, it's
difference.
the same
Well, the
stuff.
difference is you're not handing out candy. That's all it is.
Perhaps, but
That's
it's
all.
just a party for grown-ups, and that's
Yeah.
what I like,
I mean, yeah,
just the
any
fun, the
excuse to
dress
have a
up.
party, I
Right.
think it's been another challenging year, and so anyway,
Yeah.
to safely celebrate, or have fun and hang out, I mean,
Right.
that's what you're
Right.
looking at. And again, a shout out to all our viewers out there, especially in the Northeast in Pennsylvania. I know one of them said they're having heavy rains, but also in the Washington D.C. area, Arlington, and Annapolis, Bethesda. Up there, I know there's tremendous storms going on right now, so please be safe. Try not to travel if you need to, and especially in the low tidal areas.
Yet we're traveling tomorrow.
So, well, hopefully it should be over, but yeah,
I
we're
hope so.
going
I
out.
hope so. I hope
Yeah,
so.
in New York, I think it's
Right.
probably getting some rain too because it's moving up. So again, just be safe, going out, because it might be probably usually with the even if it's Halloween, it's still a heavy travel day just going out because
Right.
a lot of them are advertising sales and stuff, and
Right.
people are, trying to
From
encourage that.
Okay, so from a historical point of view, outside of Halloween, outside of, that silliness, what is special about tomorrow, did you say, from a Black history point of view?
Oh, so yeah, so for for tomorrow,
Just put her
October
here.
October 30th, yeah. So it's where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Reverend Abernathy started their 5-day jail sentence in Birmingham, Alabama, and I believe this is when Dr. Martin Luther King went ahead and wrote his famous letter from Birmingham jail. And in many ways, it encompassed just like how Martin Luther and nailed to part of the start of the Reformation of writing this letter about about civil rights and the call that it's not a legal issue per se. It's a moral issue that it's something that calls upon and behooves all of us in regards to not our God-given rights of equality and freedom. And so yeah, so that's what October 30th is in history is represents that of that
And I
and
just thought that was interesting to bring up because, yeah, we get so caught up in all the other, current
yeah.
events and
But it's important to the sacrifices
to
of
think, yeah, to
and
look back.
and all those other ones that aren't famous that were jailed for civil rights. Because for Martin Luther King Jr. and Reverend Abernathy, again there are so many others that were served prison times and bled and many gave the ultimate sacrifice for equal rights. So we want to always honor them and keep that in mind for generations to come. And yeah, so
Right.
but that's
And
it.
then here's something, a little piece that I think I mentioned to you. My father sent me this little video clip. It was like an interview. It was an interview between a black reporter and I believe she was Indian. She looked like she was an Indian physician. And it was a video out of BBC. And I just thought, it actually was, quite interesting, a different point of view, but it was the idea they were talking about how COVID seems to be, and I know none of us really want to talk about COVID, but it was this interesting idea. Why does COVID appear to be killing Black people in significant amounts of numbers? Like, why is it appear to be so racially divided in the sense that is something genetically different or special about Black people, why they seem to be a lot more affected by COVID than whites. And this is, I guess, in England specifically, that they found that the majority of people that were being killed, or not necessarily being killed, but that were dying of COVID were predominantly Black. And I just thought it was just interesting how we're not hearing about that much in the US in particular, how they were really pointing out that a lot of it has nothing to do with the fact that we're genetically different, has nothing to do with the idea of race, because as most of us know, race is a very superficial,
Well, it's a social construct.
right,
Yeah.
superficial or social
It's a
construct,
social construct.
right, that is not really skin deep. It's just a way to be prejudiced against people and a way to separate people and put them in these little boxes. And some of the narrative that they wanted to put out is, oh, there's just something different or special about Black people. That's why they're getting COVID. But really, when they analyze the data and they analyze the facts, it's the fact that people of color are the ones that are on the front lines mostly. They are the service people. So when you go to the supermarket or when you go to your hospital, a lot of times the people on the lower end tend to be the people of color when it comes to the level of jobs, or when you go to restaurants, the service people. So if they are exposed, or if they're the ones in front and your managers and your high-end executives are predominantly white men, then they're less likely to get affected by this, horrible virus. And so that's why a lot of the numbers are pointing to people of color.
So the correlation is that, or what they're saying is that it's correlation or causation, and in some regards is the rate of exposure.
Right.
You have a higher rate of exposure, which results in, especially repeated rates of exposure,
Right.
is going to create a higher level of contagion, infection.
Right.
And then if you also have what is called the disparity in healthcare,
Right.
that then creates a higher lethality
Right.
of it. And so,
Right. And then when you're a person of color and you go to the doctor or not, or to go to the ER, or you go to the hospital, unfortunately, the first thing they see, I hate to say it, is a black person, regardless of your profession. You're black before you're a nurse or you're a doctor, which, made me think about the case of the black doctor who was one of the first black doctors to die of COVID, and because people wouldn't listen to the fact that she was really sick. All they saw was a person of color that
Yeah.
needed to get out of the hospital, that's
Yeah.
complaining, that's whining. She's telling them, look, I can't breathe. I don't feel well. I'm not better. And they kept trying to discharge her, and she ends up dying.
Yeah.
And, you look at her as a patient, you don't necessarily think, oh my God, that is a doctor. No, you look at her as a patient, you just saw a person that was being mistreated that happened to be a person of color and was a doctor, but that still did not protect her, and so.
No, it's unfortunately, yeah. I mean, there's more than enough. I mean, you can even just go as high as like someone Serena Williams, and her complications from pregnancy and stuff, and how her issues were discounted.
Right.
Because again, it's that unconscious bias, and whether you like it or not, is that it is there, and we all have biases to some degree. But what happens is that when you have a majority have an unconscious bias, and then they go in and act upon that bias in a concerted way, it becomes then institutionalized, and then it becomes then normalized. Meaning that this is the course of business. What are you talking about? Then what happens is that if you get upset about it, oh, you're being overly sensitive, or you're
Right.
you're creating this, and it's like, no, it exists. It's because this is what's happening. Not being overly
Right.
sensitive, because we have evidence of it.
Right. I found it like incredibly shocking that also amongst the healthcare workers in England, um, amongst the healthcare workers, 90% of the physicians that have passed away due to COVID have been people of color. I'm like, that is crazy and scary. And you wonder why so many don't want to go back to work, or you wonder why they are upset with the conditions. It's horrible.
Yeah, yeah. So no, exactly. I mean, even here, we have we're looking at about 20% shortage in clinical staff. That includes
Right.
nurses, basically frontline physicians, DOs, nurse practitioners. I mean, basically critical staff. But it's exactly that. It's they're taking early retirement or reducing the number of hours. Because even with the vaccine, that doesn't mean you can't get COVID. It just
Right.
reduces the likelihood of fatality.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we still have some ways to go. And then on top of that, all these other issues that are coming up with the supply chain and stuff like
Right,
that.
right. And part of it is, it's like, I don't know, what's the right answer, with the whole mandate? It's affecting so many different industries, Just today we got like a little thing about, oh, the bus drivers in the area, won't be, there's a shortage. And part of that is, possibly due to the mandate. So if, you might need to go pick up your children because there won't be enough bus drivers to pick up your kids. And, we were thinking about, what if you're a single mom? What if you're a single parent, and you don't have another parent to go pick up your kid? It's so unfortunate. Or think about how this is all going to affect the airlines. A lot of people are going to want to travel come Christmas holiday, Thanksgiving holiday, and they're anticipating there's going to be a shortage of pilots to fly the planes because of the required, vaccination program, or the mandates set in place. And there are a lot of pilots apparently who are not vaccinated. Did you just hear? Actually, there was a thing today. Did you just hear not Ice T, Ice Cube? Ice Cube, right? Yeah, Ice Cube, the black rapper actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just said he turned down a $90 million deal because he's not vaccinated. that he's taking a stand not to take this movie role that requires him to be vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, wow,
Well, that's his choice.
wow. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that he should chase money, and I'm not saying, yeah,
No, I mean that.
it
I
is,
mean,
yeah, it is his choice, but I'm just
yeah,
saying how a lot of, because of what we're going through, how it affects so many different industries and so many people's
yeah.
livelihood,
Yeah.
either
Well,
way.
yeah, a big date is November 15th because many healthcare systems have set that date as the cutoff date for vaccinations. So if you don't have it, I mean, some already have started earlier in the month, but, for many of the larger systems, yeah, early November or mid-November is that. So yeah, we're gonna see the downstream effects of stuff like that. So, I mean, hopefully people do get vaccinated, that if it's safe for them to do so, and to reduce it. But even with the vaccination, you still have to still do protective. Got to wash your hands, especially we're going to flu season. See, so it's not only just the vaccination about COVID, but you also still got flu, you still have pneumonia, you still have the stuff. People forget, the flu, would basically kill about 80,000 to 90,000 people a year, and that was a regular thing. So, so you still have those issues as well, but people still have to protect, still do the right thing, and if they can safely wear a mask and social distance and stuff like that.
Right. And I do understand the idea that the government is trying to protect us. I do. And I know, again, this is a very controversial place to be, but I do still feel like being told you have to take the flu shot or you have to take the vaccine. I mean, I know I chose to take it. And I know, again, this is a little controversial, but I know that as an individual who feels like I like to do what I like to do when I'm ready to do it, don't tell me when to do it.
You don't have to tell me that.
I totally understand the people that are upset
Yeah.
that you're asking them to do this or to
Yeah.
leave their job. I just feel like, damn, can't we, there's got to be a middle ground.
Yeah.
There's so many qualified healthcare workers, so many qualified workers, period, in different industries that are being forced to leave their jobs if they don't take the vaccination or if they don't take even the flu shot. And I'm just like, ugh.
Well, I mean, again, just going back to the flu shot, I'm required to have a flu shot every year. And this, again, it's because to reduce the risk to my coworkers, and if I come in with patient contact, that, especially patients that are at risk and stuff, if I have to go to the cancer hospital, for a project and stuff like that, heaven forbid that, I put someone at risk, especially a child. So, again,
I
for me,
get that. Yeah,
again, so
totally,
that's
I
why
get
it's
that.
mandated. But for other industries where, whether it be a small business or something like that, that don't have, they're not as forward facing, they don't have a high customer contact. I think there's room there for debate whether if it's truly necessary.
Especially in a time where people are taking the vaccination, and to people who maybe not as sophisticated, it's like, well, you're forcing us to take it, but then you're telling us we still have to take a mask, or we still have to wear a mask and do all the things that we were doing before we took the vaccination. I can understand how it just comes off as rather illogical to a certain degree.
Well, I think it's because there's, in my humble opinion, I think it's because there's an expectation gap. I think that's part of it. Is that
Right.
people think that, in many ways they're so told, okay, if I have the vaccine, everything goes back to normal. And I think that's part of the information gap, is that if you really understood, we got to learn how to live with COVID the same way you have to learn how to live with the flu, Because again, it's a virus that's not going to go away. It's adaptive, just like the common cold. It's in a similar structure and family as the common cold, so it's very adaptive in that sense. And so it's going to be one of those where it's where you're going to have to either, as they develop, become regularly
But I think you made a
vaccinated.
good point there about the sort of information gap in people's
It's
expectations. I
expectations,
think, yeah, the government or the healthcare in terms of like the CDC, I think people's hopes were raised like if we get this vaccine, it's almost like it's a cure, everything will go away.
Yeah, and that was the hope, and then that the economy, everything, we'll
And
just go
maybe
right
that's what
back.
they
And I
thought,
think,
but that's not what happened.
and I think that went back all the way back through Trump, and it's not faulting, trying to point fingers and stuff. It's just that, that was the expectations. Like once we get the vaccine and went to warp drive and we get the vaccine, and then and I think that was part of the expectation. And then it was like, okay, but then like you said, wait, and I still gotta wear a mask. I still have to do social distancing. Our kids still have to be, homeschooled. Okay, we bring them back, but then we have outbreaks. Now we have variants that come in. I think what is then that's where the fatigue comes in. And then a lot
Right.
of people, they've lost their jobs. They're trying to get back. And, quite frankly, it's just also there's a fundamental level of, again, this is also part of the expectation gap, is that you keep hearing we're one of the wealthiest nations in the world, but we have a huge amount of poverty, and as well as that even the middle class is shrinking. I mean, it's not a shrink, it's in many areas middle class is gone because you have to hold two, three, four. How many times when you open up your phone you keep saying, oh, if you do this, you have a side hustle, you can make X amount of money. But the real question is like, if I'm educated, I went to school, I learned a trade, even and yet I have to hold two, three, four jobs just to have a standard of living.
Right.
That's when you start scratching your head. So what it is you find out what the media is doing is trying to tell you, like, oh, and the new normal is you got to burn both candles at the ends plus the middle. That's okay now. That's expected. But at the same time, you need to have 8 to 10 hours of sleep. I mean, it's just like, so what?
How are you gonna
So
do
what is
all
it?
of that?
Oh, I mean, you open up and say, oh, I made $20,000 a year having 5 side hustles. It's like that's something to tout about. It's just like, wait a minute, is that really what we're trying? Is that's the better place that we want our kids, to go to? Is to basically work harder, not smarter, just to then have a mediocre place? No. I think we have to really rethink about this. And I think that's where we're really part of that, what the so-called great resignation, which I still haven't bought into yet. But the so-called shifting, because again, the power is still with those that tell you what you're worth. Again,
Right.
we're still in an extraction model. The question is, it's just like the gig economy. I don't know how many of you remember that about like 4 or 5 years ago, especially when Uber launched and Lyft. They said, "Oh, the gig economy. That's gonna create freedom, right? You're gonna be your own boss, do what you want to do." Guess what happened? Then the pandemic came, and then those that were in the gig economy, guess what? They didn't have health insurance. They didn't
Right.
have the resources because you
And
were
give them an example of someone in a gig economy.
an Uber driver.
Right.
Right, so you got your hours, you're driving, you're picking
Right.
people up.
Or a speaker, public speaker who, works
Yeah,
for
you work for
themselves.
themselves, but the thing is like you don't have.
A painter.
Right, but you don't have health
Right.
insurance that
A
help cover
blogger.
you. Right, it's just
Yeah.
all those.
Yeah.
And so then what happens, then the pandemic came in and guess what? Your gig shrank. But you didn't have any resources to follow. I mean, you're not gonna telecommute, right? If you're a public speaker, try to be a public speaker on Zoom. I guess you could, but
It's just not the
it's
same.
not the same. And so that
Or a
showed,
comedian.
right? So that showed,
know,
yeah. So that showed the vulnerability of the so-called gig economy. That's why you don't hear about it anymore. Think about it. Look at your network. You don't hear anyone, hey, the gig economy. What is it now? Side hustle. That's now the new buzzword. Side hustle. Side hustle. Look at me. I made 100,000 with 7 revenue streams, and it's like, what happened to like one good damn job? What happened to that?
Well, no, that's dead. That's over. That's dead.
I mean,
That's over.
but see,
I can
this
tell
is,
you that
but
much.
see, this is the thing
I
now.
mean, it's good and it's bad. I mean, I definitely am one of those who believes that you need to find different streams of income.
Yeah, you definitely have to have
cannot
different
have
streams of-
one job and think that you're gonna live a cush life anymore.
But the thing is that it's about having various streams of income. So
Right.
that means active, passive,
You
invested.
have to be smart about it.
That's the kind of thing. It's not side hustle. Because again, the one thing you don't have is time.
Right.
You only have 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. No matter how you cut it up, that's all you got. So the thing is, it's like anything. You have to do things with intention. You can't, like, just like the whole myth of multitasking. Now all of a sudden studies come out and say like, well, you can't really multitask. You can multi-switch. I love how people
Really?
like,
Is that a new thing now?
Yeah, it's
Multi-switch?
multi-switching. Yeah, it's like, it's not about multitasking. It's about being able to multi-focus, but it's about multi-switching, meaning that you switch your focus. So you don't really do two tasks at a time. You just you focus on the one,
Right.
but then you're able to switch to the other. I mean, it's just like, come on, man. It's
Right.
like, it's again, it's this gameplay. The thing is
Right.
that you can only do what you have attention to. It's just like a relationship. If you got to till the field, and it goes back down to like just faith, traditions, and wisdom. There's a time to reap and a time to sow. There's you can only do things with intention. If you don't do it, it's going to be neglected, and the weeds are going to come up.
Right.
So you're all doing this hustle, but your main job, you're neglecting to do it, and then you're going to miss the opportunity for promotion or stuff like that. Or
Right.
like I keep saying, learning and earning. Either if you're not earning, you got to be learning, and if you're missing the opportunity to learn, you're not be able to either take the opportunity or create your own opportunity.
Right.
See, that's the whole path. That's why the learning and earning
Right.
goes hand in hand. But see, if you're doing all these little side hustles, chasing that little money,
Right.
and again, like they say, don't confuse motion with progress.
Right.
Just,
Just
you know,
being busy doesn't mean you're
doesn't
being
mean you're
productive.
moving forward. Right.
Right.
Exactly. So I'm just saying, find what works for you, but be careful, be attentive. Look for the things that's going to give you not only short term, but strategic,
Return on
long-term,
investment type of
return on
thing.
investment, long-term strategy. If this side hustle is going to add skill sets that your main job doesn't give you, then do it, because then that's part of that learning earning. Because you're being able to add to your knowledge base and your skill set, so you can move and maneuver and be adaptable. Okay, but the thing is, if you're going to do a side hustle that's another grind, say like a sales, well now you're selling, but it's another grind. So on top of your regular grind, now you got another grind, and then you got a third grind. What it really is that you're just doing more of the same. So it's just, again, you only have 24 hours in a day. So you're now doing a one-to-one relationship,
Right.
okay, where your output equals your input. So that's the thing. And you can't sustain that over time. So what'll have to happen, something's going to fall away.
Right.
All right. So that's where you have to then, like you're saying, you have to switch it up. So really what it is to have different income streams, is that different levels of intensity. So you have your main job, depending on what it is, because again, many times your main job is going to consume your time unless it's project based. But then your side hustle would be creating passive income. Okay, whether it be real estate, whether it be writing a book, doing presentations, but it's something that you generate, and then you can put it on a sales platform, and it can go
Right.
creating a
It
course.
makes you money without you having to
You
attend
do,
to it.
yeah, you attend to
every
it
day.
to create it,
Right.
or whatever it is that that's your natural proclivity that you do, that your main job you're not able to do. You create that, and then it works on itself. So you don't always have to be there, except for the creation piece, and then you manage that. Then the third piece is the investment, where you take the money that you do and then you invest it, however way you want to do it, whether it be stocks, through social
You know what? Something that I know just a little different that I keep seeing online, but I don't know anything. I haven't had time to go and look into is like Bitcoin currency. You know anything about that?
No, that's,
Right.
yeah, that,
Anybody
yeah,
else know anything
no.
about that Bitcoin currency? And people are talking about we need to be investing in that.
Yeah, if you
I
got
don't know anything
if you
about
got
it.
$36,000 lying around per
Oh,
coin,
really?
depending shape. I mean, yeah, that cryptocurrency
Yeah,
stuff.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. No, that's again, see, that's the other thing. I don't talk about stuff I have
Okay.
no idea about.
Right.
All
Okay,
I know
that's
is that
fine. I wasn't
first
sure.
of all, if you can go into cryptocurrency at this level, at 36,000, God bless you, you're at that level. I don't even need a side hustle. What you're trying to do is you're trying to find a shelter to put your money in that that you've expanded, because that's really what it is. That's why it's at such a high level.
Mm,
Because now it's like, okay, I got fined because I can't put it in regular stock so much, so I'm gonna put it into cryptocurrency and then
mm.
and bust it up. But I don't
Okay,
know.
so it's not at my pay grade,
Yeah,
apparently.
it's way above our pay grade. Trust me that. Unless it's cryptocurrency in pesos or something like that, or was
Don't
it?
disrespect the
No, I'm not
pesos.
just. I'm just saying that's the. I don't know what the exchange rate of how many pesos into one Bitcoin. I
Yeah,
should look that up.
I
I'd
don't
be
know.
curious.
I
But
don't
yeah,
know.
what is one Bitcoin going for right now? So
I have no idea.
no, but yeah, that's way above. I mean, so anyways, again, going back, so yeah, you just find what works for you, and then you find that again your daily grind. Hopefully, again, like I say, you're learning and earning, and then from there you find a side hustle that you're not going to have a serious burnout, but you just got but it's something that is again something that you can either learn and grow from it, and then from there you can take
Right.
what you can and.
Which reminds me, I'd like to thank everyone that has helped, I guess, continue to motivate me to write that cookbook. So, for those of you that don't know, at least I have finished the draft, and I actually managed to share it with the number of you guys that wanted the cake recipe. So anyone that had reached out to me in the past that wanted the cake recipe, I have actually shared the cake book with you. And if you really, really want the recipe before the book is out, you can definitely message me or email me. All our information is in the description box. I will send it to you before it is on sale. So definitely go ahead and do that. Did someone just send me $5? Is that possible? I didn't think our channel was accepting money. Isn't that funny? Doesn't it look like somebody just sent us $5?
Wow. Well, thank
That is
you.
hilarious.
I
That is crazy.
I
That
think.
is a first.
Well, I think. Well,
What?
maybe they should get a copy of the book, right? To say thank you.
Yeah, no, seriously, somebody just sent us $5. What? I didn't think our channel could do that yet.
I have no idea. I did. Oh, the crystal. Well, thank you so much. Would you like a copy of the
I think
book?
I might have. I think I might have sent her a copy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But thank you if you got a copy of that.
yeah.
But if you haven't, let us know.
At the end, well, I shouldn't say at the end of the month, definitely before Thanksgiving is over, we will definitely have that book available on Etsy. And then I'll be working to have it on Amazon. So,
So what's the price? We're going to sell the book for 1 Bitcoin. You know what? I was wrong. Bitcoin right now is $62,363.
wow, 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 wow,
So
wow, wow.
that's like 1 year's salary for most people,
Wow, wow, wow,
depending on where you live. But
wow, wow.
that's wow. That tells
So,
you. That's Bitcoin
so
right
that
there.
was it for my, current news. But I'm also super excited because now I have all these different ideas for writing future books and providing a resource to different people. And that is basically a side, well, I don't even want to use side hustle, but it's a way of passive income, if you would, because it takes a lot of work to write a book and to do the research and the lonely long nights, doing all the different tedious parts to putting a book together. But it's definitely an awesome way to make passive income because you do the work, you put it out there, and then obviously you have to continue to market it, but it becomes something that you don't have to do. The work is done, so to speak. It will make money on its own. And I'm hoping a lot of you will help support this project.
Yeah, and each of you, if if you ever have the thought like, oh, I like, but I don't know how, just let us know. And especially I've gone through the process. The thing too is like I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to
Well,
say
I don't
from
know
outside-
everything.
I don't know everything,
But I
I'm
know
gonna
a
tell you
little
right
bit
now,
more than
it is
a lot of
not-
people.
It is not easy, and anyone
Yeah.
that sits there and they're going to tell you, oh, you can go spit something out and whatever. Sure, you can spit anything out, but if
Right.
you want to do something with quality, you want to do something that adds value. Again, like you got to do it with intention, and
Right.
and you
Right.
you got to burn that candle, and you got to put in that effort, because it also reflects you too. So you don't, so if you really, and I think that most people are, if you, have a sense of value, then you want to put out what's best to reflect you. So that's the thing. But
Yeah, cool.
that's important.
So that's all we got to talk to you about. But if you got any suggestions, we're here.
Yep.
I definitely want suggestions for this pumpkin. I'm thinking about us doing a nice pumpkin stew, like Jamaican chicken stew with pumpkin
yeah.
or beef.
Chocho.
Chocho. Oh, Kenton remembers chocho.
Yes, I
My
remember your
grandma used
grandmother
to always
say.
talk about chocho.
She would send me out when we were in Florida. She'd say, "Oh, Kenton, go get some chocho." She'd send me out to the store. What are you talking about? I was
That's
like,
funny.
I went shopping with Grandpa all the time.
Yeah.
He'd say, "Oh yeah," you would tell me where to go, and we go together and pick
That's
it
hilarious.
up and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss my grandparents. So it's been, Grandpa passed away in 2014.
Yeah.
And my grandmother passed away. My grandmother passed away 2015, literally less than a year
Yeah.
after him. And my grandmother was the life of the party, but then later in life became very cantankerous. And part of the reason was, she had Alzheimer's. And I hate the fact that, we didn't really recognize that it was Alzheimer's that was setting in and her personality was changing. And so it kind of made us stay away, quite a bit. And I look back kind of sadly, like, dag, we didn't realize that was the issue. But during, for most of her life, or the life that I knew of my grandmother, she was, just the party person, the life. And she didn't take no crap from nobody. She didn't take no crap from nobody. One of those Jamaican women that she's coming when she wants to come, and she's leaving when she wants to leave.
But I think that's indicative of all the women in your family.
Perhaps.
I mean, your mom's like that. I mean, she's very nice, but I mean, once she sets her mind,
Right.
That's it. It's just nothing's going to move it unless she moves it herself. So,
Right.
Yeah, I just think that's just.
But I think I turned out the most gentle and sweet
Yeah.
and easygoing.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no argument there.
Help me. You're silly. Anyway, you guys, thanks for hanging out with us, and look forward to reading your comments. I know we can't really see the comments pop up, but they pop up so fast and then they disappear. So I really never get to chance to really read them until I go back.
But yeah, we appreciate you guys. Again, be safe, how has the computerization contributed to the shrinking of the middle class? Oh, so
What was the question?
about how
This person don't want us to leave.
computerization. Well, I mean,
What was the question?
Well, yeah, it's about computerization, but it's not really computerization. Because in many ways, computerization. Remember when the computers first came out, right? Mm-hmm. They said
My grandpa got me my first Apple computer.
Yeah, it was just a box.
I was back in college.
Yeah, and it had the little diskettes, and you would have
floppy disks.
floppy disks, and
Right.
they literally had maybe 100 kilobytes, which is like a couple pages on a book.
Right.
And the thing is you had to like just to like play a game or even to just to do something, you have to switch them out.
Okay.
And you have to go through like 5, 6 disks. You also had hard disks that go. But anyways, when computers were created, the concept was that it would reduce amount of work that the person, it was going to be this advent of basically the level of work and no, and basically, you know, make, you know, you would have shrinking workloads, you know. We all know that's not true. So basically, you know, if anything, we have more work. Like many of you can attest, especially if you are working, you know, in a white collar job or even in a service job, the amount of reporting that has to be done, you know, the amount of paper that we just churn through and we burn. You run a report. I remember being just in the hotel business. Every night as a night auditor, when I first started many, many moons ago, when I first started in a hotel at night, I'd just be running reports. And I enter those reports into another spreadsheet to generate another report. But then guess what? I create all these reports. But then when I became a controller and stuff, and I was on the executive level, I get these reports, and then the reports get shredded. You know, they go into a master report, and that master report gets filed, and then it goes into it. And all we do is we constantly, you know,
Create data.
it's all
and
data driven.
information.
So we create data, and then the data drives the process. So it creates more work. And so that's where then we look at healthcare. That's why you see healthcare is really an inverted V now. Before it just was the doctors, nurses, and stuff, but now you have it's inverted.
And I remember when they first introduced electronic medical records, where now you had to start entering data and typing in information. And we felt like there was this loss of direct contact between me as the provider and the patient. I'm sitting now with a keyboard entering, plugging in data, and I'm being scored based on how many boxes I fill in and how many boxes I check.
Yeah.
And you lose that sense of relationship or humanness with the patient in front of you.
Well, the scam is that it's not for the patient.
Right. It's
the
just
scam
for them
is that is to basically, and it's wrong, but a lot of those companies is to create the highest level of billing to charge.
Right.
And so they would create basic logic trees. So in order to get to where you had to go as a provider, you had to go through these different boxes, creating these gates to get to a certain level of coding to bill.
Right.
And so that created this, again, a whole nother level of coders and billers. Well, who's going to pay for those? Ultimately, it's the doctors, because without doctors, you wouldn't have a healthcare system. So doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners. So again, that's inverted V. So you have all this administrative stuff, keeps expanding, but the point of service is actually narrowing. You have less doctors, less nurse practitioners. And so going back to computerization. So what it has done is creates that disconnect. But really what it is, it's AI. It's artificial intelligence and robotics. And that is where a lot of the middle class is shrunk. And that's not what's being discussed. So really a lot of that is that factory work, where what it takes to create a car is tremendously now is robotic. Also in industries where you can, any type of assembly, any type of, many types of construction, you can now create things electronically and robotically and using artificial intelligence. And get this, going back to healthcare, they're working with AI now that can read x-rays and make diagnoses.
That's scary.
Well, whose job is that going to take? That's going to take away radiologists, a
That's
high-end
scary.
professional job, and also radiologists, and then all those that work with the radiologists in regards to that. So you may not need a team, 3 or 4. Now you can just run a radiology department in the near future with 1 or 2 people. So
And there will be errors, and people's lives will be at stake.
well, but according to them, they're saying like, it's not going to be that way. So again, that's going to give you an idea. So that's how it's all is going to come down to, is that with AI, and so when they're talking about how it's going to generate, this greater freedom stuff, this is where the unintended consequences and downstream, and in many ways, this is where you're going to see where there's going to be social upheaval in regards to that, because there's going to be a tremendous amount of shifting, just like in the industrial age, when industrialization came in and basically eradicated a lot of farms and stuff like that. So same thing. So when you have the robotics and AI comes in, it's going to eliminate a lot of that, and that's where either the middle class has to get redefined. What is truly middle class?
What does that say?
And Ken, you need to look at who is creating programming AI biases on me. Yeah, see, you guys want to keep me going, right? I tell you, how you balance giving your kids what you did is it not okay? You guys are fantastic. All right, so but this is what happened. I think this is a tribute to we have a very interactive and aware audience. So the thing is that yeah. So you see those confluences. So there were two questions that came in. One is about okay parenting in this, and that's part of the challenge because we have to be aware of it, not fearful, but at the same time we have to also balance that with like we don't want to put our future, which is our children, at a disadvantage. So how do we do that? And then at the same time, we talk about, there was another question in regards to bias and programming. So going into it, so even though you have AI and stuff, someone has to create those programs. So let's talk about that real quick, and don't take this from me, because again, like I say, I don't know much about anything except candy, but the thing is, the bias is there, and anyone that tells you there isn't is lying to you, left and right. There's bias because, for example, just like they're using AI algorithms in the hiring process. A lot of companies, what they do is they put it in. So guess what? So they're screening out ethnic names. Either they're looking for a specific school or they're looking for a particular background. So if someone's not the perfect fit, they're not even going to get even a human eye to look at it. So it's like you have to, in a way, this is the thing, and this goes back to parenting with your child, is to view them and instruct them that it's not about lying on your resume, but it's about understanding the field that they're going into and what are the strategic phrases or words that are going to need to be picked up. Okay, so and in order for them to get their resume through, so forth. But that's one of the examples of that bias. So if they're not looking for ethnic names, and even with our kids,
It's not messed up
even
like
with our
that. It's
kids,
so messed
for
up.
example, like Kareem,
Right.
when he has, it's his actual, our middle son's name,
It's Abdul Kareem.
Abdul Kareem, right? And so, and the thing is that he would put an application in to like Burger King. Oh, actually, no, you know what? It's Burger King, but also Chipotle. So I had this thing about Chipotle. So he put it into Chipotle. He wouldn't even get looked at, because again, you're like, why? He would apply and apply. And so then when he took off Abdul, he just put Kareem, then he got a call. And so that kind of made you think, it's there. And whether someone's going to tell you it's not, they're lying. And the other way you can tell too is if you go look at the companies, look at their diversity. And I'm not talking about tokenism, just, we got, the one black VP or we got the one Asian programmer. No, we're talking about it's, the level of what you call vertical integration of mobility. How many people are in certain departments and how many are in managerial and how many are in executive? And you can kind of see if that curve isn't there, that tells you right there, if there's a cliff that, like what people was talking about, where people of color are all in the service or ministry of support, but leadership is different. What's going on there?
Well, let me play devil's advocate.
Yeah, go
and
ahead.
they say, well, we didn't have enough qualified people of color who applied for this job.
Bullshit. So that's what I'm going to say right there. That is such crap, and and that's what I'm saying. That you can't.
We didn't have any qualified ethnic people of color.
That's because you weren't looking. Okay, if you don't look, how many? You got Howard University. You got all these great HBCUs out there.
They didn't apply.
They didn't apply. UCLA. You got great schools out there, and you got graduates of skill, and all that. It's just like Scandal, right? I love the character. Washington.
Kerry Washington's father.
When father said that you have to work twice as hard to get half, and that is so true. And that's the thing. Because if you look at the resumes of some people of color who are in African Americans, Asians, Latinos that are in top spots. You see, you're like, my God, it's almost like short of walking on glass. They had to get there compared to like some of their comparable peers. Don't even go to half of the schools they went to,
We'll have half the
work through
degrees.
the degrees and
Right.
the experience just to
Right.
get that. It's just like, come on, let's be real about it. So no, I don't buy into any of that. So yeah, so that's where AI and stuff. So you have the biases, just like in a lot of the companies, they do what is called behavioral interviewing. Okay, so what behavioral interviewing, if you're not familiar with it, is a technique or strategy where companies will sit there and they'll interview you. And what they do is that they will sit there and they will ask you questions to gauge what they call fit and how you define fit. And what they do is that, for example, they'll ask you questions like, can you tell us a time when you were given a responsibility or a project and then you experienced some sort of challenge? How did you handle it? And what were the results? Okay, and then you
This
go.
sounds personal, Kenton.
Just go. No, not personal. I'm just telling you. And then you have to respond to it. Now you say, well, what's wrong with that? I mean, so you're asking them a question. Well, there's a couple of things. One is that if you think about it, the point of that behavioral is that are you really getting a good fit? Because what if you're someone that you have the talent or you have the education, but you're trying to move up to a position to do those projects, but your previous position never really got you that opportunity. But you have the skill, you have the IQ, you have this thing. So when they ask that kind of question, and you don't have that experience to match exactly, now you're at a disadvantage, right? So it's almost like it's only going to be round peg, round hole type of approach. But see,
is that race related?
in many ways it is, because again, if your pool, for example, just like going back to your example again, if a lot of people that are in administrative support and in service, right, and that's your work, but you're trying to move into management, how do you get into management if you're not given those experiences? That's why progressive companies will have mentoring programs. They'll have that because they see that. They see that, we have talent that we're not tapping into because again, that round peg, round hole mentality. But it goes back to, again, this behavioral interviewing that is an industry. See, again, this is what makes America great. Everything is an industry. So these behavioral interviewing companies, they sell the training and the product to corporations, say like, you use our product, you're going to get the best people. And they hammer it. They say, oh, look at it, it's based on science and stuff. But the funny thing is that if you research it, the people that do the science are white men. So that means that the questions and experiences that they're looking for are going to mimic what you know.
Right. They're not culturally sensitive to.
It's not about sensitivity. No, it's not about sensitivity. It's really about, no, it's not
culturally
sensitivity.
relevant.
It's about understanding really what you want to do. It's about what you're doing is you're creating a framework that like gets like. That's the unintended consequence. It's not about sensitivity. It's about generating the outcome that you're purported to do. So
You're trying to attract a certain
you're
type.
trying to attack a certain type that
Right.
fits a certain model.
Right.
Okay, so that's the same. It's no more different than sit there and giving marriage advice, and to someone, and yet totally ignoring the fact about the conflict of interracial experiences, interreligious experience. I'm just giving you advice based upon my own experience, and so then I create a program and say this is now universal.
Right.
That's the fallacy. It's not universal. And so what happens is then it totally then creates. That's why for all this diversity stuff, after almost 2 decades of it, you look at these companies, you can't even see hardly any black CEOs. What the hell's up with that? Why? It's because, again, it's tokenism. It's tokenism, and it's all about checking off the boxes.
Right.
Kenton
is on a roll today, huh? What did I give him?
But the thing is that but that's what I'm trying to say. It's structural, and it's not trying to point, oh, there's evil people, this and that. That's not what it is. What it is that it puts us at a disadvantage.
Right.
Because we're losing a lot of talent from a wide variety of pool, whether it be women, people of color, immigrants, however classification you want. It's about again, tapping into, because a company can only be its best if it utilizes the best people out there. And that's what I'm saying.
Some of these best people are being overlooked.
Absolutely, because again, you're creating these systems, and then many times, also the other thing too is that lot of these companies, they utilize behavioral interviewing as a way to prevent lawsuits. So it's not even designed. So they won't even telling you that they're not even saying, "Oh, we're here to get the best people." We're just here to prevent lawsuits to say we're being unfair.
Now, how do you prepare your children going out
Okay.
into the world, your ethnic or, people of color, your kids, they're out there, how do you prepare them?
Yeah. So yeah. So and no, and again, this is the extra. Lift that we have to do. But one, you prepare them by being honest. That's the first thing to do. Not saying like, oh, hey, you're never going to get anywhere because there's racism and don't, it's just unfair and it sucks and you're not going to get your dreams. No, it's not that at all. It's like just being honest. Look, the world is in many ways unfair.
Right.
There's got, and there's things that you can't control, which is true. A lot of times control is an illusion. Most right. Like there's only two things you can really do. You can either change your environment or change your attitude. How you interact with your environment. That's really the two levers you have. And most of the time it's really you and how you interact. Because many things are out of your control. So one of the things is teaching, and viewing upon your kids, that's resiliency. That's like, sometimes when a door closes on you, don't give up. Figure out what it is that you can and can't do. You can't change you. Like, don't be ashamed of your name. Don't be ashamed of your culture and your background stuff. So now it's like figuring out like, okay, how do I either get my foot in the door, or if not, how do I create a door?
Right. How do I create a door?
Right.
And how do I find like-minded people?
Right.
That I'm willing to.
And that's the other thing. See, so then the other thing too is, and this is where it's the power of networking. So on the downside of social media, the upside is that this is where then it's about working together synergistically to find like-minded people, opportunities where you can pull together and work together to create that environment where you can
Right.
succeed. So that's one thing. The second thing is to teach them to follow their passion, but also find that life balance. That it's find your passion, but sometimes your passion isn't going to give you immediate gratification. Delayed gratification. So it's also looking at ways to that. Sometimes there's probably most likely not a perfect job out there. Trust me, because especially if you're continuously changing, learning, and growing, a job that was good for you when you're 20. By the time you're 24, 25, you'll be like, man, I've maxed out. So then, you look for the next opportunity. So that's the other thing is that never settle for less, but always look for a way to continuously improvement. So that's the other lesson. Always be continuously improving. Don't settle. Always be continuously improving, and whether you're learning or earning. So that way you can always set yourself up for the next opportunity. So that's the other thing is teaching your kids in whatever field, whether it be, and there's no one path, but whether it be in technical like science, whether it be in trade, because because you can make a good living or be successful, just doing a good trade, just like welding. We have a shortage of welders. You can if schooling is not their proclivity per se, but a good trade, again, is fun. And I think that's part of the parenting is to meet your child where they are.
Right.
Instead of trying to mold them in something that you want.
Right.
Or
That's
the
what
worst
I say.
case,
Right.
or the worst case, fulfill your unfulfilled dreams.
Right.
That is the worst. That is where, if you want to break a spirit, do that.
Right. Well, a lot of spirits have been broken. I'm sure a lot of people can attest to
It
that.
can attest to that. And that's what I said. So don't break that cycle. Don't do that to your own kids or your niece or nephew. Because, again, that's the other thing. It's not just parents, but as an adult caregiver, you can also make a difference. Whether also be as a foster parent or whatever. It's just that you can be a positive influence, and it's just meeting them where they are, and finding where they can, again, grow and learn in their field. So,
Okay, Boo. I think we need to say goodbye now.
that's it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, they threw it in at the end. You guys got to do it at the very beginning.
We'll answer
Okay.
whatever questions that come in next
You know what
time.
we're going to
Boo.
do? That's right.
Right, leave your questions.
Leave your questions, and we'll pick it up next Friday, and we'll continue the conversation. Invite your friends. We
Right.
can even have a healthy debate, because like I say, again, it's an exchange of ideas, and that's why this is.
I
this
need to
is
figure
wonderful.
out like how to get people to join. Like I've seen on other channels, you can like do a dual screen where you can randomly pick other people to join if they want to on the live, meaning you can see other faces instead of just ours, some of the audience. I got to figure out
yeah.
how to do that if
Yeah.
that's possible.
Yeah, that'd be
But
cool.
yeah, that'd be cool. So like, yeah. Anyway, but definitely leave your questions and we'll try to do them next time.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, sorry. Again,
No sorry,
Again,
right?
No, it's just-
Definitely thumbs up for all the wisdom that Kenton has been
no,
dropping.
it's not wisdom. No.
And we'll see you next time. I don't know if we'll do or if I'll have a video vlog for Sunday because we'll be traveling. So unless I, have us do a live again, maybe. But I don't have anything like pre-recorded for Sunday. Yeah, we'll see. We might have something on Sunday. We might not. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And we appreciate you guys all. We really
Always.
do.
Yep. And be safe. And again, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy, the fall festivals this weekend, I believe. And, and best of love to all of you.
Bye. All right. So Kent, you remember you got X out now.
How do you do that? Like that,
We do that all the time.
Is that it?
Yeah, but you didn't do it.
I thought I did.
Okay.